This is Robert Kraft, and I'm coming to you live on SNNLive, and we're at the Sidoti & Company 2016 Emerging Growth Conference in New York City. With me right now is Jason Patrowitz from OTC Markets Group Inc., publicly traded company with the symbol OTCM on the OTCQX. Jason, welcome to SNNLive.
Thanks, Bobby. How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
Pretty good.
All right. So for our audience, before we get into some more specific questions, let's start with an overview of the company, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. OTC Markets Group offers a venue for small MicroCap companies to be able to publicly list without all the pain and complexity of being on a national exchange. For a lot of small cap, MicroCap companies, being on a national exchange is cost prohibitive, it's expensive, it's painful. And we give those companies the opportunity to be public, to be good corporate citizens, to be open with their investors, but to do it in a way that embraces technology and takes a lot of that pain and complexity out of being public.
So we just did an interview actually at the last Sidoti conference with the company CFO, and again, I'd love to get an update as to what's going on with the company, since we did that interview. I think it was at the end of March.
Sure. So, we continue to grow, and we continue to offer things for our companies to help them again. Our mission is really to offer really good financial markets in a cost-effective and efficient way. So certainly since we were here last time, a lot of the things that we've done are to help those companies. Things that companies need, things like research. For small and micro-cap companies, sometimes getting research is difficult. So we've offered a program with Morningstar that helps them get some base-level quantitative research. We've also created a research marketplace, which gives our companies access to providers of research, company paid for research, and allows them to kind of have that benchmark that larger companies get, but that small companies don't have access to. We've also started looking at ways to get our companies more visibility. So we've started to offer things like virtual investor conferences, which allow companies to be able to do roadshows, again, without that cost and complexity of having to travel all over the country, or CEO interviews where they can tell their story on our website in a way that prior to us doing that, they weren't able to do just because of the size and scope of the company. So a lot of those things around engaging the investor and helping companies get their message out.
Sure. And I want to hit on actually the research marketplace. How does that work? Do you go in and vet the companies offering the research? Tell me.
Sure. So for small companies, I'm sure I'm not telling your audience anything they don't know. It's really difficult sometimes to be a small company and get access to the things that large companies get. Certainly the landscape for research in this country and globally has changed significantly. Most sell-side research providers are providing that research on the back of trading revenue. And so they're really limited to the companies that make them a lot of money to being able to provide that research. What we wanted to do is give those small companies access to good providers of quality research where we do the vetting of those companies and again offer it as a possibility for them. So some of the things we look at, providers of research that don't take stock as compensation for writing the research. Providers of research that are regulated in some way, shape, or form, whether it's through FINRA or in the UK under the FSA. Providers of research that don't give carte blanche editorial rights to the company. So you can spell check it, but you can't go in and say, I don't like what you've written, and then rewrite it. So we kind of look for high quality providers. Sidoti, in fact, is one of the providers of that research, so I'll give them a shout out. And again, it's really to help companies. Small companies, CEOs are busy trying to figure out how to run their business. And there are a lot of providers of services that sometimes prey on small company CEOs that don't know better. So research is a great example where these companies will take stock as compensation, they'll write things, all not really done for the benefit of the company, but more for the benefit of their own enrichment. And so if we can help CEOs and CFOs vet through that kind of landscape and give them access to really quality information, providers of services, then we think we're doing our job.
So I also just recently did a podcast interview with Cromwell talking about what's going on with Reg A Plus and Reg A and all of that. Mm-hmm. So, let's get an update. I want to know what's going on recently, both from your perspective representing OTC markets and then also from the regulator's perspective.
Sure. So, for your audience that doesn't know, Reg A Plus or Title IV of the Jobs Act was designed to kind of build on what Reg A was originally and give issuers the ability to raise capital online, freely tradable capital, in essence do offerings for up to $50 million that they couldn't do before. So it was very revolutionary, and it was revolutionary, A, because it increased the cap of Reg A from 5 million to 50 million, and it was revolutionary because it allowed you to do it on the internet, if you will. So the IPO process, and again, we get back to this theme of, the capital markets wasn't helping small companies. Well, the IPO process, in a way, wasn't helping small companies either. It's expensive, it's time-consuming. For the small company that needs access to capital, a lot of times it's not there. So Reg A Plus gave these companies the ability, again, to raise up to $50 million, to do it in a way that's kind of democratic and social. You can do it on the internet, and those shares become freely tradable. So from an investor point of view, you don't have that restriction or lockup period that you would have under a Reg D or some other offerings. We were very proud to have the first, Elio Motors, do a Reg A offering that went public on our OTCQX market under the symbol ELIO. That was last February. They were the first trailblazers. Since then, there have been, and don't quote me on the number, but probably about 125 to 145 new Reg A deals that have been, filed with the SEC. It's moving through. I think 9 of those deals have closed, and it's a little bit slow moving. It's something that's new, so we look at it as a 3 to 5 year time horizon for seeing a lot more of these things come through the pipe. But if you think about it, again, it's this is kind of the last thing that was left that you couldn't do on the internet was raise capital, and from our point of view, that's revolutionary. And again, if you couple that with the cost and complexity of being on a national exchange, we think we marry well with the whole concept of small companies being able to raise capital, being able to offer their investors a public market where those shares are freely tradable, and to do it all in such a way that companies can focus on building their business and not focus on all the rules and regulations and restrictions that come with being on a national exchange.
So I want to ask a little bit the particulars of, from closing to then listing. What's that gap? You say there's about approximately, we don't have to quote you on the number, but you said 9. But what does that mean to say, all right, we have 9 deals that are now closed, but then what's that time frame from it being closed to then listing on either the QX or the QB?
Right. So it depends on the company. Again, Elio being the first, they did it with the intention of being public immediately thereafter. So without boring the audience, there are some regulatory hurdles that you have to go through. You have to get a ticker symbol. You have to file what's called the 211 with FINRA. If it's done right and in partnership with the group, really once the shares are placed, they can be immediately freely tradable. And then if you do everything right, there's immediately a ticker and trading. For some of the companies that closed, they were already public. And it should be noted that if you're already an SEC filer, you can't avail yourself of Reg A+. The way it was written was you couldn't be an SEC filing company. But there are companies that are bank reporting or ARS reporting that are already public companies and that have raised money under Reg A+. So in that respect, they're already public. So that ticker symbol already exists. OTC Markets actually has a rule petition before the SEC to say that it's silly to limit Reg A+ to non-SEC reporting companies. We think it's important for capital formation in the U.S. for small companies, that they extend that to SEC companies, SEC reporting companies as well. So hopefully we'll see that in the coming months.
And from what you can tell me, what are some of the goals and milestones then for OTC Markets to finish out the year and going into 2017?
Well, the goal continues to be the same. It's to provide an efficient public market for our companies, to continue to offer value products and services, advice, counsel, to help our companies, our OTCQX and QB companies, better navigate being public, whether that's, giving them access to quality research, whether that's helping them get their story out, whether that's just educating them on the pros and cons of a national exchange listing versus a quotation on our market. That's what we continue to focus on. That's what we'll focus on for the rest of this year. That's what we'll focus on for the rest of next year. There's always new issues that come up. There's always things that are happening that make being public painful, and where we can take away that pain, where we can be an aspirin, if you will. That's what we're going to do. You know, one of the things that I didn't mention is blue sky. For a lot of companies, blue sky is a pain point. We've been working with the states to get blue sky recognition for our QX and QB securities. We've received 12 state recognition, and for the rest of this year and into next year, we hope to extend that into 50 states. And so, again, we have our work cut out for us. We're the little guy trying to help the little guy, and we'll continue to make that our mission and work as hard as we can.
And where can our audience go and find more information about OTC Markets?
OTCmarkets.com. You know, should be your first point of call. You can find out about all the securities that trade on our market, as well as all the things we're doing at our company. And of course, we're publicly traded on OTCQX as well. OTCM is our symbol.
My name is Robert Kraft, and I'm coming to you live on SNNLive, and we're at the Sidoti & Company 2016 Emerging Growth Conference in New York City. With me again has been Jason Patrowitz from OTC Markets Group Inc., publicly traded company OTCM on the OTCQX. Jason, thank you again.
Thanks so much.